Alright, so we're doing it. What's up, everybody? We're going to talk about tendonitis today, all the different terms that are associated with it, the way that you need to approach it, and the mindset that you need to have to try to see some sort of improvement. Whether you recover, improve all the way, you get better 10%, 20%, 90%, whatever you can get out of this, right? Alright, so let's break it down. Tendonitis, tendon, right? The piece of tissue that connects the muscle to the bone, right? You got itis. Now, when you have a huge meal and you pass out and you can't control yourself, inflammation. When you hear the word or see the word itis associated with inflammation, tendonitis, bursitis, synovitis, dermatitis. You want me to keep naming them? Anywho, then you have tendinosis, which is more of a chronic issue where tendonitis is acute bouts of inflammation, redness, swelling, yada, yada, yada. Tendinosis is when the muscle tissue, or the tendon rather, degrades faster than it could recover. And we're going to talk about that a little later. Then you got tenosynovitis, which is just inflammation of the sheath that wraps the tendon. Sometimes it can happen to the sheath and the tendon. That happens more to people who have like a lot of fine motor skills, like people who type tons, who artists, sewing, anything where you have a lot of small micro movements, because that generally happens to the hands, feet, fingers, all that good stuff. So let's talk about three components of all these different words, right? Tendinitis, tenosynovitis, blah, 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 right? What encompasses them, or the road to recovery? Well, the first one is I lump it together. It's sleep and it's also nutrition. Because if your nutrition is booty cheeks, you're not recovering the right way because you're not putting the proper fuel in your body. You're not sleeping enough. You're not recovering because you're not giving yourself an opportunity to recover the best you can, right? And if you have issues with actual inflammation, like actual tendonitis, not tendinosis, or like maybe even arthritis, right? There's a lot of evidence behind having a diet that doesn't promote inflammation. Reducing fried foods, all this other, all the good stuff, right? Because it is the good stuff, right? It is what it is. And I forgot to mention, other than food, right? You got alcohol, you got cigarettes, all those things increase inflammation as well. So be aware of that. And then you got flexibility and mobility. Because if you're really stiff, like biceps are really stiff, right? It's always going to be a force that's kind of pulling it this way, right? When a muscle is tight, fibers start moving this way. So there's going to be pressure on both sides of the tendon, right? That's going to be sustained for long periods of time, right? And you also have mobility. If you can't move the right way, your body is always going to find another way. That other way isn't always great because you put so much effort into other muscles, right? You're overutilizing other muscles. And that's when problems start, right? When that happens for long periods of time. And then you have, pop my elbow, muscular imbalances and weaknesses. So this is what I was talking about earlier when I was talking about tendinosis, right? So we're going to talk about. So when you injure a muscle, the working capacity automatically goes down a little bit. That's okay. That's normal. That's cool. The goal is to try to increase that working capacity, but watch how much demand you're putting on your body. A lot of people put too much demand. It's just too high, right? Just like the rain in New York. Too much. They need to relax, dial it back, bring it down, kind of find that balance, right? But the stronger you get, the better you can get at judging when it's too much. Like we as people need to learn when we need to take a step back and chill out, when we need to take breaks, start being aware of our posture, aware of our technique and stuff. Because when you get real tired, that's when your technique always slips. And that's okay. That's normal. We're human, right? But understanding and learning how to manage it is a really, really, really important part, right? And the muscular imbalances are pretty straightforward. It's almost similar to mobility, where if certain muscles are weak, your body has to choose another method to do the movement that you need. And then you get sloppy, and then it is what it is. So now let's talk about ourselves, right? Adherence and being aware and trying to create habits, which is the hardest thing. I've been doing this for so long and I still mess up a lot, right? Getting rid of bad habits and creating new habits is super, super hard. The best way that I've found is to find things that make it convenient for you. I could show you 10 different stretches. I could say this one is the best stretch in the world. Oh my God, and you're stupid if you don't do it. But if you hate doing it, you're not gonna do it. You might like doing the worst version or the less optimal version, but the best one is the one that you're gonna do. It is what it is. As long as you're actually doing it and you're consistent, you'll see progress, right? Adherence is everything, man. And one thing I love and have learned to do is to try to sneak a little bit of this into everything I do. Ooh, perfect example. If you're out here cooking, well, you're gonna just sit there and watch it boil. You can scroll on your phone for 10, or you can knock out your stretching, right? You just bust out a couple of these, bust out a couple of those, you know? Like, what's stopping you from doing that, you know? I understand people are super busy. I get it. But if you're that busy, you have to learn to sneak these in to your daily lives. And it makes such a big difference. You don't realize it because these are small things, but they compound a lot. You notice them a lot more in the long run. Not in a week, not in 2 days, not in an hour, you know? But if you follow a lot of these tips and a lot of that, you should start seeing progress. All right, we're gonna talk about one more thing in terms of like your progress, right? Progress is very, very rarely linear, especially with stuff like this. It's always a bunch of ups and a bunch of downs. What I mean by linear is just constant improvement, no setbacks. Unless you're just really, really lucky, or you're godlike, you got immaculate self-control, just hats off to you, right? I can't do that, and most people can't do that, right? You're lucky. You need to learn to be patient with yourself, and you need to learn to be forgiving with yourself, right? It just is what it is. And another thing we need to talk about is how you're measuring your progress, right? You have to be doing things or exercising with the goal of measuring it in mind. Are you getting stronger, or are you just going through the motions? Are you getting more flexible? Can you feel yourself going further, right? Are you using a little more weight? Can you handle longer work sessions with like a muscle that's irritated, right? Right? Things like that are super important because that's going to give you the information that you need. That's going to tell you if what you're doing is effective or if it's not. You know, have you given yourself enough period of time to let your body adapt? Remember, 1, 2 days, 1 week, 2 weeks isn't really enough to see significant changes. Like, honestly, if you want me to be real, 2 to 3 months, that should be really, really solid amount of time to start seeing the progress that you want to see. But if you can't put that effort in, it's going to be a lot harder. It's going to take much longer period of time, you know, right? And then we talked about diet. Let's say, let's dial it way back. Let's say you have inflammation, physical inflammation. Sometimes things like ice or any kind of anti-inflammatories really, really do help. Now, a lot of people are also terrified to get like corticosteroid injections, right? Or cortisone shots. That's cool. I'm in the same boat. But sometimes if you really, really, really adhere and you're very good about it and you've done so much and you feel like you're not making proper progress, you might have to consider it. And I've learned that it's kind of 50-50 with these things. Sometimes it doesn't do much. Sometimes it gets rid of the problem completely. Right? The only way to know is if you have no other choice and you got to do it. My father, for example, and many other patients I work with have had, like, let's say tennis elbow, right? A good amount of them resolve it with therapy. Some of them, it gets a little better, but it's still really like inhibiting them, right? They can't do what they need to do. For example, my pop's corticosteroid injection, boom, chilling, good. And I know plenty of other people who've gotten it and it really hasn't done much. So again, this ain't no medical advice. This is just my personal experience and things that I've dealt with and I've learned. So you take it for what it is, right? Let's be really clear. A lot of the exercise and stretching videos are coming, but I gotta get the boring stuff out of the way first, you know? Because doing it is cool, yeah, showing you all the stuff, nice, awesome. But if you don't understand what you're dealing with, right, that's gonna be harder. Education is really important, or just having information on something that you're trying to resolve is important. Not just randomly doing stretches that you see, even though sometimes it may help, but I want you guys to learn. I want this to be a learning experience.